Why was she on her knees scrubbing brass casings while everyone else was shooting? The gunshot echoed through Riverside shooting range. Then laughter, harsh, cutting, the kind designed to make you feel small. A Glock 19 flew from someone's hand, skidding across the dirty concrete floor to stop inches from the young woman kneeling there, scrubbing, always scrubbing. Her blonde hair pulled back in a simple ponytail, faded navy blue t-shirt, worn jeans with bleach stains on the knees. She didn't look up, didn't react. Just kept her eyes on the dustpan, on the spent brass casings that littered the floor like forgotten promises. "Hey, sweetheart." The voice boomed through the indoor range, cutting through the muffled pops from the active lanes. "You know which end the bullet comes out of." More laughter erupted from the group of 5 clustered around the weapon cleaning station. They stood there like they owned the place, like they owned her. Ethan Crawford's 6'2" frame cast a long shadow over the woman who barely cleared 5'3". Amber Stone covered her mouth with manicured fingers, her regional championship ring catching the fluorescent light. Bradley Foster, the range instructor whose 15 years of experience hung on the wall in framed certifications, shook his head with theatrical disdain. Mason Harris drummed his fingers against his $3,000 custom pistol, its gold plating glinting. Connor Hayes, the assistant supervisor, crossed his arms over his barrel chest, skepticism carved into every line of his face. Around them, the 20-some customers scattered across the 50-yard facility began turning, curiosity pulling their attention from paper targets. This was entertainment. This was something to watch. Ivy Wallace stood slowly, her movements economical, precise. Dark brown hair, simple ponytail, she didn't meet their eyes. The cleaning cloth remained clutched in her right hand, knuckles white around the fabric. "I'm just working, sir," her voice barely above a whisper. "Working?" Ethan's laugh was sharp. "You think you can work here without knowing anything about firearms? This is a shooting range, not a laundromat." But none of them knew. In the next 20 minutes, everything would change. The man laughing now would find himself on his knees. Ivy remained motionless, her gaze fixed on a point somewhere past Ethan's shoulder. The cleaning cloth in her hand showed corners folded with military precision, edges sharp enough to cut, not the casual fold of someone wiping down surfaces. The kind of fold drilled into muscle memory through countless inspections. The kind you do in your sleep because you've done it 10,000 times before. Ethan stepped closer, his boots deliberate on the concrete, positioning himself to block her path to the equipment closet. "What's the matter? Gun-shy?" His voice rose, playing to the growing audience. "Maybe you should stick to mopping floors instead of pretending to work at a real range." Amber pushed off from the cleaning station, where she'd been examining her latest competition scores. She walked over with the calculated grace of someone accustomed to cameras and crowds, touching Ethan's arm lightly, then turning to Ivy with a smile that never reached her eyes. "Let me talk to her, babe." The sweetness in her voice was thick enough to choke on. "Honey, how long have you been working here?" Ivy's shoulders remained level, her breathing unchanged. 6 months, ma'am." As she answered, her hands moved automatically, folding the damp cloth she'd been using. The movements were crisp, mechanical, 4 corners meeting in perfect alignment, edges creased with the kind of precision that came from years of doing it the exact same way. The kind of precision the military beats into people until they could do it in their sleep. Bradley noticed. His eyes narrowed slightly as he watched her hands complete the fold in 3 seconds flat. The fabric square now a perfect triangle, then a compact rectangle. He glanced down at his clipboard at the employee roster showing Ivy's hire date, her civilian work history. Nothing remarkable, nothing military. 6 months and you still don't know firearms. Bradley's voice carried the authority of someone used to students hanging on every word. That's actually sad. Mason rose from his designated VIP seating area, where members paying $3,000 annually got leather chairs and personal lockers. He adjusted his designer shooting glasses, the kind with custom prescription lenses and ballistic ratings nobody at a civilian range would ever need. I pay good money to use this facility, not to watch unqualified people stumble through janitorial work. His dismissal was casual, the way wealthy men dismissed anything that didn't directly serve them. Connor emerged from the supervisor's office, his polyester range staff shirt stretched tight across a former athlete's frame gone soft. Problem here. He looked at Ivy first, suspicion default in his expression, then at the gathering crowd. 28 people now. This many witnesses meant paperwork if things escalated. No problem, boss. Ethan's grin was all teeth. Just thinking maybe our cleaning lady should actually know what she's cleaning. You know, for safety. Wouldn't want her accidentally shooting herself. That's actually a good point, Connor said, nodding slowly. Employee firearm familiarization. OSHA probably recommends it. OSHA recommended no such thing, but nobody challenged him. I have an idea. Ethan's voice took on a theatrical quality, the kind that signaled he was about to enjoy himself immensely. Let's give her a little test, make it fun, see if she can even handle a basic weapon. The crowd shifted, phones emerging from pockets. This was content. This was something to post, to share, to make people laugh. A small woman in cleaning clothes being humiliated by guys who clearly knew their way around weapons. Peak entertainment. A voice cut through the growing murmur. Leave her alone. What are you people doing? Arthur Green, 70 years old with hands that trembled slightly until they gripped a pistol, stepped up to the firing line's edge. He'd been coming to Riverside for 20 years, since before the new owners took over, since before it became the kind of place that hosted corporate events and influencer photo shoots. He wore a faded Vietnam veteran's cap, the embroidered patches showing units and campaigns most people only knew from movies. Amber pivoted smoothly, her competition training evident in the fluid movement. Mr. Green, we're just teasing. She needs to learn to do her job better, right? It's actually helpful. The condescension dripped like honey over broken glass. Arthur's response died in his throat as Ethan raised a hand. We appreciate your input, sir, but this is about facility safety. Logan Pierce, a regular who came every Tuesday and Friday without fail, moved closer to the group. He didn't speak, just positioned himself where he could see everything clearly, one hand resting in his jacket pocket, watching, evaluating. Ivy's eyes flicked toward the exit. The main door sat 30 feet away, but Mason had drifted to stand near it, casual in his positioning but definitely blocking the most direct route. Ethan controlled the path to the equipment room. Connor stood near the office hallway. She was boxed in, surrounded, the center of a tightening circle. The sound of boots on concrete announced Captain Samuel Brooks before he appeared. Striding in from the outdoor rifle range, his supervisor's shirt stretched across shoulders that still carried active-duty muscle memory despite retirement 5 years ago. Salt and pepper hair cut high and tight. A faded tan line on his left ring finger where a wedding band used to sit. What's going on here? His voice carried the flat authority of someone who'd given orders in combat zones. Connor straightened automatically. Captain, we were just suggesting that Ms. Wallace should familiarize herself with basic firearms, given her work environment, safety protocols and all. Brooks's gaze swept the scene. Ivy, small and quiet, surrounded. The group of 5, all larger, all armed, all radiating the kind of confidence that came from never being challenged. The crowd of onlookers, phones ready. He'd seen this before. Not at shooting ranges, but in high school hallways, military training yards, places where people decided someone was different enough to be a target. He looked at Ivy. You do your job well, clean on schedule. She nodded once, a movement so economical it barely qualified as motion. Then that's enough, everyone back to your lanes. But Ethan didn't move. Captain, with respect, this is about safety. She needs to understand what she's working around. What if there's an emergency? What if someone gets hurt and she has to help? Brooks studied Ethan, saw the performance, saw the phones, saw the trap being laid. "What are you proposing?" "Just a simple demonstration. Basic firearm handling, make it educational." Ethan's smile widened. "Unless she's too scared." The challenge hung in the air like smoke. Ivy stood perfectly still, but something changed in her eyes, something cold, something distant, like she was looking at them from very far away. Brooks caught it, that shift, that thousand-yard stare that came from places most people never went. "Ivy," he said quietly, "you don't have to do anything." She looked at him, really looked at him, and for just a moment Brooks saw something that made his chest tight. Recognition. Warrior to warrior. She wasn't afraid, she was deciding. "It's okay, Captain," she said softly, "if it helps people feel safer." But there was something she hadn't told them, not yet. What happens when you hand a loaded weapon to someone you've just mocked? The range fell into that particular kind of silence that comes before something irrevocable. Ethan's grin spread wider as he gestured toward Lane 7, the center position where everyone could see, where 30 phones could capture every angle, where humiliation would be documented, shared, immortalized. "All right then." He picked up a Glock 19 from the cleaning station, standard 9mm, nothing fancy, the kind of weapon millions of people owned, the kind you could buy at any gun store. "Let's see if you can even load it properly." Ivy moved toward the lane, her steps measured, even, no hesitation, no visible anxiety, just that same economical movement like she was crossing a kitchen to pour coffee. Nothing dramatic, nothing theatrical. Bradley positioned himself at her right shoulder, clipboard in hand. "I'll score her form, professional evaluation." He was already smirking, already composing the story he'd tell later about the janitor who couldn't hold a pistol correctly. Amber stood to the left, phone raised, perfect angles captured. Her followers loved content like this. Real moments, authentic reactions. "This is so helpful for her," she murmured to the camera. "Really important for workplace safety." Mason leaned against the wall behind them, arms crossed. "This should be entertaining." Connor took position at the range master's station, finger hovering near the emergency stop. Not because he thought anything dangerous would happen, just because policy required it when a new shooter was on the line. The crowd pressed closer, 32 people now. Someone whispered, "I feel bad for her." Another voice replied, "She doesn't have to do it." But nobody stepped forward, nobody intervened, they just watched. Ethan handed Ivy the Glock. "You know how to check if it's clear." She took the weapon, her grip sure, confident, fingers falling into place like they'd been there before. She ejected the magazine, locked the slide back, visually and physically inspected the chamber. Textbook perfect. The kind of movements that came from repetition, from training, from muscle memory built through thousands of repetitions. Bradley's smirk faltered slightly. "Okay, lucky guess, probably saw it on TV." Ethan set a box of ammunition on the shooting bench. "Load one magazine, 15 rounds." Ivy picked up the first cartridge, brass gleaming under the fluorescent lights. She seated it in the magazine with a soft click, then another, then another. Her hands moved with mechanical efficiency. No fumbling, no hesitation. Each round sliding into place with perfect alignment. 15 rounds in 23 seconds. The smirk was completely gone from Bradley's face now. That was fast. Too fast for someone who'd never done it before. "All right," Ethan's voice had lost some of its theatrical edge. "Insert the magazine, chamber around." She did, smooth, controlled, the slide racking forward with that distinctive metallic snap. Point down range, feet shoulder width, isosceles stance. Ivy adjusted her position, feet planted, weight balanced, arms extended, the weapon steady in her hands, her breathing slowed, regular, controlled, the kind of breathing that came from meditation, from training, from combat. Arthur watched from lane 15. His hands had stopped trembling. He'd seen that stance before, in mirrors, in memories, in brothers who'd come home changed. "Fire when ready," Ethan said, still confident, still smiling, still certain this would end with her flinching, jerking the trigger, missing the target completely. Ivy's finger moved to the trigger, proper placement, pad of the finger, not the joint. Her eyes focused downrange on the standard silhouette target, center mass, 15 yards, basic qualification distance. The first shot broke clean. A single hole appeared in the target's chest, dead center. The second shot followed 0.2 seconds later. Same hole, or close enough that you couldn't tell the difference at 15 yards. The third, the fourth, the fifth. Ivy emptied the magazine in 8.3 seconds. 15 rounds. One ragged hole in the center mass of the target, so tight you could cover it with a quarter. The slide locked back on empty. She set the pistol down, pointed safely downrange, finger off the trigger, every movement textbook perfect. The range was silent, not the anticipatory silence from before, a shocked silence, a what the hell just happened silence. Bradley stared at the target, then at Ivy, then back at the target. That's not possible, not for someone with no experience. "Maybe she got lucky," Mason said, but his voice lacked conviction. 15 times, Logan Pierce spoke for the first time. "Nobody's that lucky." Ethan's jaw worked. He picked up his phone, zoomed in on the target display screen. One hole, maybe two overlapping, certainly no more than three, at 15 yards, with a weapon she'd supposedly never fired before. Amber had lowered her phone. Her eyes narrowed. This wasn't going the way it was supposed to go. Connor stepped forward, his authority suddenly feeling very thin. "Beginner's luck happens, doesn't prove anything." "Then let's make it harder." Ethan's voice had an edge now, pride wounded, performance derailed. "Move the target to 25 yards, give her a moving drill." Brooks moved closer. "That's enough. She proved she can handle a weapon. You wanted safety familiarization. She's familiar." "No," Ethan's voice rose. "I want to see if she can actually shoot, or if this was just a fluke." Ivy stood quietly, waiting, her hands relaxed at her sides, her breathing still calm, still controlled, like she was standing in line at a grocery store, not in the center of 30 people demanding she prove herself. "I'll do it," she said softly. "Ivy," Brooks started. "It's okay, Captain." She looked at him again, that same look, that warrior look. "Really?" The target moved to 25 yards. Ethan pulled a different drill. 6 rounds, 2 to the body, 1 to the head, 3 seconds. Can you do that? Professional qualification standard. The kind of drill law enforcement trained on. The kind that separated casual shooters from serious ones. 3 seconds was fast. Real fast. Especially for someone who'd supposedly never shot before today. Ivy reloaded the magazine. 15 rounds again. Smooth, efficient. She inserted it, chambered a round, took her stance. "Timer set," Connor called out. "On the beep." The electronic beep sounded. Ivy moved. Her first 2 shots broke so fast they sounded like one, both center mass. The third shot came 0.8 seconds later. Head shot, perfect box, between the eyes. 2.1 seconds total. She safed the weapon, set it down, stepped back. The crowd erupted, not in mockery, in disbelief, in shock, in that peculiar mix of emotions that comes when reality doesn't match expectations. Bradley walked downrange to examine the target. He pulled it down, brought it back. 3 holes, 2 in the chest forming a single ragged wound channel, 1 in the head, perfectly placed, absolutely perfect. "Who are you?" he whispered. Ivy didn't answer, just looked at him with those calm, distant eyes. Ethan wasn't smiling anymore. "That's still just one drill. Paper targets don't shoot back." "What else do you want?" Brooks's voice was tight, controlled anger, the kind sergeants used when they were done being patient. "I want to know who the hell she really is." Ethan pointed at Ivy. Because cleaning ladies don't shoot like that. Nobody shoots like that without serious training. Maybe she hunts, Amber offered weakly. Hunters don't do combat drills, Logan said flatly. That was a Mozambique, 2 to the body, 1 to the head, failure drill. You learn that in tactical courses, or the military. All eyes turned to Ivy. She stood there, small, quiet, in her faded t-shirt and bleach-stained jeans, looking like exactly what they'd assumed she was, just a janitor, just a cleaning lady, just someone who didn't matter. But her hands told a different story. The way she stood told a different story. The way she breathed told a different story. Arthur stepped forward, his voice steady. I think you owe her an apology, all of you. For what? Ethan shot back. For asking her to demonstrate basic safety. For humiliation, for mockery, for treating her like she was less than you. She is less than me, Ethan snapped. She cleans toilets, You run your mouth, Arthur interrupted. She runs circles around you on the range. Show some damn respect. The tension ratcheted higher, 30-plus people watching, phones recording. A confrontation escalating toward something nobody could walk back from. And Ivy just stood there, waiting, calm, like none of this touched her, like she'd seen worse, been through worse, survived worse. Because she had, but they didn't know that yet. Have you ever seen someone's entire world collapse in a single sentence? Brooks made a decision, the kind of decision senior NCOs make when situations spiral toward disaster. He stepped between Ethan and Arthur, his command presence filling the space like concrete. Everyone calmed down, now. His voice dropped into that register that made people's spines straighten automatically. Marine Corps sergeants major didn't ask. They stated. Reality conformed. Ethan's jaw clenched. He wasn't backing down, not in front of his girlfriend, not in front of his friends, not in front of 30 people recording every moment. I just want to know who she is. That's reasonable. It's invasive, Brooks countered. And it's done. She demonstrated competence, test passed. Everyone go back to your lanes. But Logan Pierce was still watching Ivy, his hand still in his jacket pocket, his eyes tracking every micro-expression, every small movement, reading her the way you read people when your life depended on accurate assessments. He'd seen something, something the others missed. You're military, he said quietly, not a question, a statement. Ivy's eyes met his. For the first time, really met someone's eyes, held them. And in that moment, Logan saw confirmation, saw recognition, saw something that made his pulse kick despite 20 years out of the service. Was, she said softly, past tense. What branch? Logan asked. Ivy hesitated. This was the line. Once crossed, there was no going back. No more anonymity, no more quiet life in the background, no more safety in being overlooked. But they'd pushed. They'd demanded. They'd humiliated her in front of witnesses. And part of her, the part that spent 6 years earning every ounce of respect from men who didn't think women belonged, was tired of being invisible. Navy, she said. Amber laughed, sharp, disbelieving. The Navy, like on boats. Like in combat, Arthur said quietly. Not everyone on ships stays on ships. Ethan's eyes narrowed. What did you do in the Navy? This was it, the moment. Ivy could deflect, could give a vague answer, could maintain operational security the way she'd been trained, could keep the secrets that kept her safe, could walk away and let them think whatever they wanted to think. Or she could stop hiding. Special operations, she said, her voice still soft, still quiet but carrying weight now, authority, truth. The range went silent. Bradley's clipboard hung forgotten in his hand. Mason's designer glasses reflected overhead lights as he straightened from the wall. Connor's mouth opened slightly. Amber's phone dipped. Bullshit, Ethan said, but his voice lacked conviction now. Women can't. Can't what? Brooks interrupted. His expression had changed, hardened. Can't serve in special operations. They've been doing it since 2016. Can't qualify. Tell that to the ones who passed selection. Can't perform, tell that to their commanders who sent them downrange. Logan pulled his hand from his jacket pocket. In it, a worn leather wallet. He flipped it open. Military ID visible, retired, former SEAL. He'd kept quiet because he'd learned long ago that talking about service in civilian life brought questions, attention, complications. But now he showed it, validated it. "What teams?" he asked Ivy. She looked at him, saw the trident on his ID, saw the understanding in his eyes, saw someone who knew what the words meant, what the cost was. "I can't say," she replied, "still classified." "Rate? Special Warfare Operator." Logan's eyes widened. That was the rate for SEALs, for combat operators, for people who did things most humans couldn't imagine. "You went through Bud S." Ivy nodded once. The room spun for Ethan. This wasn't possible. This woman, this small, quiet woman in cleaning clothes, couldn't have survived basic underwater demolition SEAL training. The Hell Week, the surf torture, the log PT, the 20-hour days designed to break the strongest men the military could find. 80% attrition rate, the hardest military training in the world. "When?" Logan pressed. "Class 329. Logan pulled out his phone, typed, searched. His face went pale. "Holy shit, your guardian angel." The name hit the room like a physical force. Several people gasped. Someone whispered, "No way." Someone else said, "That's not real." But it was real. Guardian angel. The call sign that circulated through special operations communities like legend. The sniper who'd saved 312 coalition and civilian lives through precision overwatch. The operator who'd volunteered for the missions nobody else wanted. The woman who'd earned a wall of commendations and never spoke publicly about any of it. Bradley's clipboard clattered to the floor. You're her." Ivy said nothing, just stood there. The same quiet presence she'd been 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago, 6 months ago. Nothing about her had changed except their perception. Ethan's world was crumbling. He'd mocked her, called her sweetheart, questioned her competence, made her a spectacle, and she was a Navy SEAL, a decorated operator, a legitimate war hero. He wanted to disappear, to rewind time, to take back every word, every laugh, every condescending smile. Amber lowered her phone completely. Her social media post about workplace safety was going to be very different now, or maybe deleted entirely. This wasn't content. This was consequence. Mason stepped forward, his expensive pistol suddenly feeling like a toy, like a rich man's plaything. I didn't know." "You didn't ask," Arthur said quietly. "You assumed." Connor wiped his palms on his pants. His authority as assistant supervisor felt laughable now. This woman reported to him. This woman cleaned bathrooms and swept floors and took orders from him about basic tasks. This woman could probably disable him in 3 seconds using nothing but her bare hands. Brooks looked at Ivy with new understanding. "How long were you in?" 6 years active, 4 reserves. "Why here, why this job?" Ivy's expression didn't change. Needed something quiet, something normal, somewhere nobody asked questions. "And we ruined that," Brooks said. "Not a question, a fact." She didn't disagree. Logan was still scrolling through his phone. 312 confirmed saves, 0 combat losses under your Overwatch, Silver Star, Bronze Star with Valor, Navy Cross. He looked up. The Navy Cross is the second highest military decoration, second only to the Medal of Honor. People were pulling out their phones now, searching, finding articles, finding tributes from military forums, finding testimony from people she'd saved, finding proof. Finding truth. Ethan's legs felt weak. He leaned against the shooting bench. "I called you sweetheart." "You did," Ivy confirmed. "I asked if you knew which end the bullet comes out of." "You did." He couldn't finish, couldn't articulate the shame, the horror. the sickening realization that he'd humiliated someone who'd sacrificed more for her country than he could comprehend. Amber was crying, actual tears, her perfect makeup running. "I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry." Bradley picked up his clipboard with shaking hands. "Your file, it just said previous employment, federal service. I thought, I thought it meant like postal work or something." "That's what it's supposed to say," Ivy replied. "Operational security, some details stay classified." Mason removed his designer glasses, cleaned them, replaced them, a nervous gesture. "The things I said about unqualified people, about my membership fees, about—" he trailed off. Connor found his voice. "You've been here 6 months, cleaning, taking orders, never complained, never corrected anyone. Why?" Ivy considered. "Because I didn't want this, didn't want attention, didn't want people treating me differently. I just wanted normal." "Normal?" Logan's voice carried disbelief. "Your guardian angel, you saved hundreds of lives, you're a legend." "I'm a person," Ivy said quietly. "I wanted to be treated like a person, not a hero, not a symbol, just someone doing a job." Arthur stepped closer, his Vietnam veteran cap catching light. "You earned the right to anonymity, to peace, and we took that from you." Ivy looked at him, saw the understanding there, saw someone who knew, who'd been there, who'd come home to a country that didn't know how to process what service meant. "It's okay," she said. "It's not," Arthur insisted. "You deserved better, deserve better." The crowd began to shift, shame replacing curiosity, guilt replacing entertainment, people pocketing phones, deleting videos, feeling the weight of what they'd witnessed, what they'd participated in. But the damage was done, the secret was out, the anonymity was gone. Ivy's quiet life had ended the moment she picked up that Glock. And somewhere deep inside, beneath the calm exterior, beneath the controlled breathing, beneath the warrior's mask, she wondered if she'd made a terrible mistake. If hiding was survival, and exposure was death. Can you rebuild trust after destroying it completely? The following morning, Ivy arrived at Riverside at 600, before opening, before customers, before witnesses. She carried her cleaning supplies to the equipment room, set them down, and started her routine. Wipe down the counters, sweep the floors, empty the brass buckets. Normal, routine. The same motions she'd performed every shift for 6 months. Except everything had changed. Brooks was waiting in his office when she passed. "Ivy, we need to talk." She paused, nodded, followed him inside. He closed the door, gestured to a chair. She sat. He sat across from her, elbows on his desk, hands clasped. "I owe you an apology. I should have shut that down immediately. Should have protected you. Didn't." "You tried," Ivy said. "Not hard enough." Brooks's jaw clenched. "I was retired Marine Corps, senior enlisted. My entire career was about protecting my people, and I let those jackasses humiliate you for entertainment. They didn't know. They didn't care to know, that's worse." He leaned back. "I've been thinking all night about what happens next, about what you want." "I want to keep working." Brooks blinked. You want to stay." "I like the routine, the quiet, the simplicity." "Ivy, after yesterday, this place won't be quiet. People know now, or they will soon. Social media, word of mouth. You'll be recognized, approached, asked for interviews, autographs, selfies. Your anonymity is gone." Ivy's hands rested in her lap, relaxed, but her knuckles were white. "I know." "So why stay?" She considered. "Because running away proves they won, proves I'm something other than what I am. I'm not ashamed of my service. I just wanted privacy. Those aren't the same thing." Brooks studied her. "You're right, they're not." He pulled a folder from his desk drawer. "I have a proposal, not cleaning, program development. Riverside needs better training curriculum, better veteran integration, better community outreach. I want to hire you to build those programs. Use your experience, your perspective, make this place better." "I'm not qualified for that." You have a Navy Cross. You've trained with the best operators in the world. You've led missions under impossible circumstances. You're overqualified. Ivy shook her head. I clean, that's what I do here. Because you chose to, not because you couldn't do more. Brooks slid the folder across the desk. Think about it, job description, salary, it's a real offer. She didn't open the folder. What about yesterday? What happens to them? Ethan, Amber, Bradley, Mason, Connor. Yes. Brooks's expression hardened. Ethan and Amber are lifetime banned. What they did was harassment. Filmed harassment, that's not acceptable. Bradley's suspended pending review. Mason's membership is revoked. Connor is on probation. That seems harsh. It's appropriate. Actions have consequences. Ivy was quiet for a long moment. What if I don't want that? Brooks frowned. What? What if I don't want them punished? Ivy, they humiliated you, publicly, deliberately. They didn't know who I was. They knew you were a person. That should have been enough. She couldn't argue with that, but something else gnawed at her. Something about punishment versus redemption. About ending someone's access to a community versus giving them a chance to grow. Can I think about it? She asked. About the job or the bands? Both. Brooks nodded slowly. Take your time, but Ivy, you don't owe them forgiveness. You don't owe them grace. What they took from you, your privacy, your peace, you can't get that back. I know, she said quietly, but punishing them doesn't give it to me either. She left his office, returned to her cleaning routine, wiped down lane 7 where she'd shot yesterday. The target was gone, replaced, but the memory remained, etched into the walls, into the air, into the consciousness of everyone who'd been there. At 800 the first customers arrived, and they stared, whispered, some approached carefully. Excuse me, are you guardian angel? Ivy kept cleaning. I'm Ivy, just Ivy. But you're the Navy SEAL, the sniper. I was, now I work here. Can I get a photo? She wanted to say no, wanted to maintain boundaries, but these people were polite, respectful, not demanding, just asking. Okay, she said softly. 1 photo became 10, 10 became 20. By 900 there was a line, people wanting to meet her, thank her, shake her hand, tell her what her service meant to them, what her story meant to them. It was overwhelming, exhausting, the exact opposite of the quiet anonymity she'd cherished. Arthur arrived at 1000. He didn't get in line, just watched from lane 15. When the crowd thinned, he approached. How you holding up? Tired, Ivy admitted. Want me to run interference? Tell people to give you space? No, they're being kind. I can't fault them for that. Kindness can still be exhausting. Ivy smiled, small, genuine, it can. Arthur sat on the bench beside her. I wanted to tell you something about yesterday, about what Ethan and the others did. He paused. I've been coming here 20 years, seen a lot of people, seen a lot of behavior. What they did wasn't new. It's a pattern. People treating service workers as less than human, janitors, cashiers, anyone in a uniform that doesn't command automatic respect. I know the pattern, Ivy said. But you broke it by being excellent, by showing them they were wrong. That's powerful. It's also exhausting. I imagine it is. Arthur's hands rested on his knees. But it matters. Young people saw that, saw you handle mockery with dignity, saw you demonstrate competence without arrogance, saw you maintain composure under pressure. That's leadership. Ivy looked at him. I'm not a leader, not anymore. Leadership doesn't end with discharge papers. It's who you are. Before she could respond, the range door opened. Ethan walked in, alone. No Amber, no Mason, no Bradley, no Connor, just him. His eyes scanned the facility until they found Ivy. He walked toward her, each step looking like it cost him everything. Arthur stood, positioned himself between them. Your band. I know, Ethan said. His voice was different, smaller, stripped of all the theatrical confidence from yesterday. I'm not here to shoot, I'm here to apologize, then I'll leave. She doesn't owe you her time, Arthur said. I know that too. Ethan's eyes met Ivy's. I know I don't deserve it, but I need to say it anyway, need you to hear it, then I'll go, I promise. Ivy studied him, saw genuine remorse in his expression, saw shame, saw the kind of realization that comes when you confront who you've been and don't like what you see. It's okay, Arthur, she said quietly. Arthur didn't move. You sure? Yes. He stepped aside but stayed close, ready. Ethan stood 3 feet from Ivy, not close enough to be threatening, not far enough to avoid confrontation. I spent all night researching you, reading articles, reading testimony from people you saved, learning what you've done, what you've sacrificed. His voice cracked. And I called you sweetheart, asked if you knew which end the bullet comes out of, mocked you in front of 30 people, made you a joke, made you prove yourself for my entertainment. Ivy said nothing, let him speak. I'm sorry, Ethan continued. I'm so deeply, profoundly sorry. What I did was cruel, unforgivable. I humiliated you because it made me feel powerful, made me feel important, made Amber laugh, made my friends impressed. I used you to build myself up. And you didn't deserve that. Nobody deserves that. No, Ivy agreed quietly. Nobody does. I know Captain Brooks banned me. I know I'll never shoot here again. That's fair. That's right. But I needed you to know that I understand what I did. I understand the harm. And I'm sorry, truly sorry. Ivy looked at him, this man who'd towered over her yesterday, who'd blocked her path, who'd demanded she perform, who'd laughed at her silence. He looked smaller now, broken by consequence, by realization, by shame. You didn't know, she said. I should have treated you with respect regardless. Who you are, what you've done, that shouldn't matter. You're a human being, that should have been enough. Ivy was quiet, thinking, feeling, processing. Then she made a decision. The kind of decision that shapes communities, that defines character, that chooses grace over justice. I don't want you banned, she said. Ethan blinked. What? I'm going to talk to Captain Brooks. Ask him to lift the ban on all of you. Ivy, you don't have to. I know I don't have to, I'm choosing to. She met his eyes. What you did was wrong, but punishment doesn't teach, it just excludes. I want you to learn, I want you to be better. I want you to treat the next person with respect. That won't happen if you're banned. It'll just happen somewhere else, to someone else. Ethan's eyes filled. I don't deserve that. Probably not, but I'm giving it anyway, with conditions. Anything. You apologize to the others, the customers who saw yesterday, the people you performed for. You own what you did publicly. Done. You volunteer here, help new shooters, teach safety classes, give back to the community you disrespected. Absolutely. And you never, ever treat another person the way you treated me. Not here, not anywhere. Ethan nodded, tears streaming down his face. I promise, I swear to you. Ivy extended her hand. Then we start over. He took it, shook it, his grip gentle, respectful. Thank you so much. He left. Arthur watched him go, then turned to Ivy. That was generous. That was necessary, Ivy corrected. Punishment creates resentment. Grace creates change. Not always. No, not always, but often enough to try. Arthur smiled. You're a good person, Ivy Wallace. I'm a person trying to be good. That's different. Sometimes dignity doesn't punish. It teaches. What would you do if the phone call you'd been dreading finally came? 3 weeks passed. Riverside transformed. Ethan kept his promise, volunteered, taught safety classes with humility earned through mistakes. Amber posted videos about respect and assumptions, reaching millions. Bradley revised his instructor curriculum to emphasize dignity. Mason funded a scholarship program for veterans seeking firearms training. Connor implemented new policies against workplace harassment. The Guardian Angel Initiative was born, A community program honoring service, teaching respect, building bridges between veterans and civilians. Ivy reluctantly became the face of it, not because she wanted attention, but because her story mattered. Her presence mattered. Her example mattered. Young women came to the range now, inspired, hopeful, seeing possibility made real. One of them was Willow Chen, 17, passionate about service, scared she wasn't strong enough. Ivy mentored her, guided her, showed her that strength came in forms beyond physical. Brooks offered the program director position again. Ivy accepted, not because she wanted to leave cleaning behind, but because the work mattered. Building something lasting mattered. Helping others mattered. Life settled into a new rhythm, different from before, more public, more demanding, but purposeful, meaningful, the kind of work that left you tired but fulfilled. Then the phone rang. Ivy was in her office at 1700, reviewing training schedules when her personal cell vibrated. Unknown number, encrypted prefix, the kind of call that came from places civilians didn't know existed. Her heart kicked, muscle memory from years of being on call, years of deployment rotations, years of understanding that encrypted calls meant someone somewhere needed help urgently. She answered, "Wallace. Guardian Angel, this is Sierra Actual. We have a situation." Sierra, Commander Reyes, her former team leader, the woman who'd led their operations in Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, the woman who'd recommended Ivy for the Navy Cross, the woman who'd told her at her retirement ceremony, "The fight never really ends. It just changes location." "I'm retired," Ivy said quietly. "I know, and I wouldn't call if we had alternatives." Sierra's voice carried weight, stress, urgency. "We have a hostage situation. Pakistan, Taliban-held compound. 18 civilians, including American contractors. They're going to be executed in 72 hours unless demands are met." "What demands?" "The impossible. Prisoner releases we can't authorize. Ransoms we won't pay. Territory concessions we won't make. The demands aren't the point. This is theater, public execution to demonstrate power." Ivy's office felt smaller, the walls pressing in. "Why me? You have dozens of operators." "We have one operator who's extracted civilians from hard targets with 0 casualties 3 times. One operator who speaks Pashto fluently. One operator who understands the cultural dynamics enough to navigate tribal politics. One operator the locals called Ghost because they never saw you coming." That was years ago. Skills like yours don't expire. Intel shows you maintain qualification on all weapons systems. Your medical certs are current. You still run 5 miles daily. You're ready, Ivy, even if you don't think you are. Ivy looked out her window, saw customers training, saw Willow practicing her stance, saw the community she was building, the life she was creating, the normal she'd fought for. "I have commitments here," she said. "I know, and I respect them, but I'm asking anyway. Because 18 people are going to die horrible deaths if we don't act. Because their families are praying for miracles. Because you're the miracle they need." Ivy closed her eyes, felt the pull, the call to service, the knowledge that she had skills most people didn't, that those skills could save lives, that walking away meant accepting those deaths as inevitable. But she'd walked away for a reason, had left that life for a reason, had built something here for a reason. "I need time to think," she said. "You have 12 hours, wheels up at 600 if you're in. Langley Air Force Base. I'll text coordinates." The call ended. Ivy sat in silence, her office suddenly feeling like a cage, the weight of decision crushing down like atmospheric pressure. Brooks knocked, entered without waiting. "You okay? You look pale." "I got a call from my former commander." Brooks understood immediately. "Deployment. Extraction mission. Civilians in danger. They want me." "What did you say?" "That I'd think about it." Brooks sat. "What are you thinking?" "That I don't know. that I retired for a reason, that I built a life here, that I made commitments to this community, to Willow, to the programs we're building. But people are going to die if I don't go. Brooks nodded slowly. That's the burden, isn't it? Having skills that matter, knowledge that saves lives. You can't unknow what you know, can't unlearn what you've learned, can't ignore what you're capable of. I thought retirement meant peace, meant leaving the fight behind. Peace isn't the absence of capability, it's the choice to use it wisely. Brooks leaned forward. I don't know what you should do, Ivy. I can't make this decision for you, but I can tell you this. Whatever you choose, this community supports you. If you go, we'll be here when you come back. If you stay, we'll respect that choice. You don't owe anyone martyrdom. Don't I? If I have the skills to save them and I don't go, their deaths are partially my responsibility. That's not how responsibility works. You didn't create the situation. You didn't take them hostage. You don't owe the world every ounce of yourself just because you're capable. Then what do I owe? Brooks smiled sadly. That's the question warriors have been asking since the beginning of time, and none of us have found a perfect answer. Ivy spent the night thinking, remembering, processing. She thought about the lives she'd saved, the missions she'd completed, the brothers and sisters she'd served beside. She thought about the weight of 312 lives carried forward because she'd made the shot, taken the risk, answered the call. She thought about the 18 civilians who'd die if she didn't go, the families who'd grieve, the children who'd lose parents, the futures that would end in a Taliban compound because she chose comfort over service. She thought about Willow, about the programs they were building, about the community that needed her, about the life she'd fought to create. At 400, she made her decision. She packed her go bag, the one she'd kept in her closet despite retirement, the one with tactical gear, medical supplies, communication equipment, the one she'd hoped never to use again but couldn't bring herself to discard. She drove to Riverside, left a letter in Brooks's office, explaining, apologizing, promising to return. She didn't call, didn't text, just left the words on paper because speaking them would make her reconsider. At 5:45 she arrived at Langley Air Force Base. Sierra waited at the hangar, C-130 loaded and ready, team assembled, equipment staged. "You came," Sierra said. "I came," Ivy confirmed. "Thank you for answering, for serving, even when you didn't have to. 18 people deserve a chance. That's all I can give them." They boarded. The C-130 lifted off, America disappearing beneath clouds and distance. Ivy looked out the window, watching familiar landscapes fade to ocean, ocean to foreign lands, the known to the unknown. She'd left peace behind, again, because peace, she was learning, wasn't something you achieved permanently. It was something you chose moment by moment, decision by decision, life by life. And in this moment, service called louder than comfort. The mission was simple in concept, impossible in execution. Infiltrate a Taliban compound in the Hindu Kush Mountains, extract 18 civilians, evade pursuit, survive. Standard Tuesday for special operations, nightmare fuel for everyone else. Ivy settled into her role like putting on old clothes, familiar, comfortable. The weapons, the protocols, the hand signals, the operational tempo, it all came back instantly. Muscle memory, neural pathways carved by thousands of hours of training. The team was good, professional, they knew her reputation. Guardian angel, 312 saves, 0 losses, but reputations don't stop bullets, don't prevent mistakes, don't guarantee success. They inserted at 200 local time, fast rope from hovering helicopters, 30 seconds from rotors to ground. Then the choppers were gone, darkness and silence remaining. Pakistan's mountains were unforgiving, cold, steep, inhospitable, perfect for hiding hostages, perfect for defending against rescue attempts. Ivy carried her rifle like an extension of her body, night vision painting the world in green monochrome, each step measured, each movement deliberate, 4 clicks to target, 2 hours at tactical pace. The compound appeared at 3:58, mud brick walls, guard towers, sentries with AK-47s, thermal imaging showing 18 signatures in the basement, the hostages. Sierra signaled the team. Positions, timing, coordination. Ivy moved to her overwatch position, 300 meters, elevated ridge, clear sight lines. This was her gift, her calling, the thing she did better than almost anyone alive. Precision, patience, protection from distance. The assault began at 4:15. Suppressed weapons, night vision superiority, speed and violence of action. The team breached, neutralized sentries, cleared rooms, descended to the basement. Ivy watched through her scope, breath steady, waited. Her job wasn't to fire, it was to prevent the need to fire, to watch the perimeter, to catch threats the assault team couldn't see. Movement 320 meters, sentry emerging from a hidden bunker, weapon raised, aimed toward the breach point. Ivy's finger found the trigger, proper placement, controlled breathing, sight picture, range compensation, wind reading, all of it instantaneous, automatic. The shot broke clean. The sentry dropped. Before his body hit ground, Ivy was scanning for the next threat. There, 400 meters, second sentry, moving fast, radio in hand, about to alert reinforcements. Second shot, second drop, silence maintained. The assault team reported, 18 civilian packages secure, moving to extraction. Ivy provided overwatch as they exited. 18 people scared but alive, moving toward freedom, toward families, toward futures. But nothing's ever simple in combat zones. Reinforcements appeared, vehicles, fighters, dozens of them, converging on the compound. The assault team couldn't move fast enough with civilians, couldn't fight through that many hostiles. Ivy became what she'd always been, guardian angel, protector from above. She fired methodical, precise, each shot eliminating a threat, each bullet saving lives, vehicle engines destroyed, fighter positions neutralized, escape routes cleared. The team extracted, all 18 civilians, all operators, 0 casualties, perfect execution. By 600, they'd crossed back into friendly territory. By 800, the families were in safe houses. By 900, the mission was complete. Sierra approached Ivy. 3 more families, 12 more people living because you answered the call. That brings your total to 312. Ivy corrected quietly, 324. Right, 324, Sierra paused. What's next for you? Ivy considered. I made a promise to a community. I serve on an advisory board. I mentor a young woman who wants to serve. I help build programs that honor veterans properly. But I keep my gear ready, in case someone calls again. Sierra smiled. Fair enough, don't be a stranger, guardian angel. They shook hands, warriors recognizing warriors, friendship forged in fire. Sometimes peace means being ready for war. Sometimes service means answering calls you hoped wouldn't come. Sometimes the fight never really ends. It just waits for you to be ready. How do you live with one foot in 2 different worlds? 3 days after the Pakistan extraction, Ivy returned to Colorado, to Riverside Shooting Range, to the community that had honored her, supported her, sent her off with understanding. She walked in at 800 to find the range busy, customers training, life continuing, but when people saw her, activity stopped, applause erupted, cheers. Welcome home calls echoing through the facility. Brooks emerged from his office, grinning. Mission successful. Mission successful, sir. Then let's celebrate properly. The community gathered. Coffee, pastries, stories carefully edited to maintain operational security, but the outcome was clear in Ivy's face, in the peace that had replaced tension, in the closure that came from answering the call successfully. Arthur approached, his Vietnam veteran cap sitting slightly crooked. "You look settled now, like something got resolved." "It did," Ivy confirmed. "The people I was sent to save are alive. The mission was successful. Everything came together." "So what now, you staying?" Ivy looked around the range. At the Guardian Angel Initiative sign mounted near the entrance. At Willow practicing her stance with improved confidence. At the community that had transformed from strangers to family. "I'm staying. I'm keeping the position Brooks offered, head of veteran programs. I'll help build something lasting here." "Good," Arthur said firmly. "We need you, not just for your skills, for who you are." Willow rushed over, excitement radiating. "Ivy, I got my academy appointment. I'm going to Annapolis next year." "That's outstanding," Ivy said, pulling her into a hug. "You earned it." "You inspired it," Willow corrected. "Seeing you, knowing it's possible, that made the difference." Legacy extending forward, the next generation rising, the cycle continuing in ways that mattered. Over the following weeks, Ivy settled into her dual existence. Program director by day, ready operator by night. She designed training curricula, coordinated with veteran services, taught classes on firearm safety, combat mindset, tactical thinking. She mentored female shooters like Willow who needed to see possibility made real. The range transformed under the Guardian Angel Initiative. Veterans found community. Civilians learned respect for weapons and the responsibility they carried. The culture shifted from machismo to competence, from performance to purpose. Ethan became a regular volunteer, teaching basic safety classes with humility earned through his mistakes. His theatrical confidence replaced by genuine service. Bradley's revised instructor program became a model other ranges requested to study. His dismissiveness replaced by patience. Amber's social media evolved. Posts about humility and respect reached millions, changing conversations about firearms culture, about how we treat people, about the assumptions we make. Her performance replaced by authenticity. Mason's donations funded scholarships for dozens of veterans seeking training and certification. His dismissal replaced by investment in community. Connor implemented comprehensive harassment policies, making Riverside a place where everyone felt safe, respected, valued, his suspicion replaced by protection. The 5 antagonists became the initiative's strongest supporters, their redemption arcs proving that people could change, could grow, could become better versions of themselves when shown a path forward. 3 months after the Pakistan mission, Ivy's phone buzzed during a training class. Encrypted message. "Guardian Angel, new situation developing, Mexican border, cartel activity, your skill set requested." She looked at the message, at the range outside her office window, at the life she was building. She thought about Brooks's words, about peace being the choice to use capability wisely, about not owing the world every ounce of yourself just because you were capable. She typed back, timeline. 2 weeks, same team, same objective, save lives. Ivy smiled. 2 weeks was manageable. She could arrange coverage for her classes, could brief Brooks, could maintain her commitments here while answering calls there. She could do both, could serve here and there, could be the mentor and the operator, synthesis rather than choice. Send coordinates, she typed. I'll be there. Because some calls you never stop answering. Some skills exist for purposes beyond yourself. Some people are called to serve. And when they answer, lives change. Futures unfold. Generations continue. The Guardian Angel Initiative thrived. The community grew stronger. Programs expanded. Impact multiplied. And Ivy Wallace, former janitor, current program director, eternal warrior, maintained her gear, kept her skills sharp, stayed ready. Ready for the call that would inevitably come. Ready to save people who needed saving. ready to prove again and again that quiet strength changes worlds. Her rifle stayed clean, maintained with the same precision she'd learned in basic underwater demolition training, the same attention to detail that had kept her alive through dozens of missions. The go bag stayed packed, always in her closet, always ready, medical supplies current, communication equipment charged, tactical gear inspected regularly. The phone stayed charged, because encrypted calls came without warning, because emergencies didn't schedule themselves, because service meant being ready when called. And when civilians needed protection, when families needed rescue, when the impossible needed attempting, she answered. Every single time. 6 months after returning from Pakistan, Ivy received an unexpected visitor at the range. A young woman, mid-20s, carrying herself with military bearing despite civilian clothes. "Petty Officer Wallace," the woman asked. "Just Ivy now, how can I help you?" "I'm Lieutenant Sarah Chen, Navy. My father is Chen, the paramedic you saved in Kandahar." She paused, emotion visible in her eyes. "I'm about to start basic underwater demolition training, SEAL training. I wanted to meet you first. Wanted to ask," she hesitated, "is it possible, really possible, for someone like me?" Ivy studied her, saw determination, saw doubt, saw the same questions she'd asked herself years ago, the same fear that maybe she wasn't enough, wasn't strong enough, wasn't tough enough, wasn't worthy. "Yes," Ivy said firmly. "It's possible. It's harder than you can imagine, harder than anything you've experienced, but if you want it, truly want it, you can do it." "Will you tell me how?" "One day at a time," Ivy said, the same words she'd told Willow, the same wisdom that had carried her through Hell Week, through surf torture, through endless evolutions designed to break people. One evolution at a time. Don't think about the whole thing, just do the next thing. Then the next, until suddenly it's done. Chen nodded, absorbing the wisdom. "Dad wanted me to give you this." She pulled out a photo, Chen with his wife and 3 kids, all smiling, alive, present, existing because Ivy had made a shot in Kandahar that most people couldn't make. On the back, a message written in careful handwriting. "Thank you for our family. Thank you for our future. Thank you." Ivy's eyes blurred. She accepted the photo, placed it in her office. The first decoration on her walls, proof of impact, proof that service mattered, proof that the sacrifices were worth it. "Go crush Bud S," Ivy told Chen. "Then come back and tell me about it. I want to hear everything." "Yes, ma'am," Chen saluted, crisp and perfect, the kind of salute that came from respect, not requirement. Then she left. Ivy returned to her office, looked at the photo, at the proof of her impact. 324 saves, hundreds of families, thousands of children who would grow up because she'd answered calls, because she'd developed skills, because she'd chosen service over self. Her phone buzzed, encrypted message. "Guardian Angel, situation developing, your skill set needed." She smiled, opened the message, read the details, read the plea for help, read about people who needed exactly what she could provide. She typed 3 words, "Send the coordinates." Then she stood, walked to her window, looked out at the range where veterans trained and civilians learned and community flourished. Some people teach by speaking, some by doing. She did both. Some warriors retire, some keep fighting. She integrated both. Some calls end, some continue forever. Hers would never stop. The guardian angel would always answer, always be ready, always serve. Because dignity doesn't demand recognition, it simply acts. Because strength doesn't announce itself, it just shows up when needed. Because service isn't about glory, it's about answering calls that others can't or won't. And Ivy Wallace, mocked, dismissed, underestimated, had spent her entire life proving that quiet people often carry the loudest impact, that small frames often house the strongest spirits, that the ones you overlook are often the ones who save you. She'd been a janitor, A seal, a guardian angel, a mentor, an operator, a builder. She'd been underestimated, then feared, then honored, then loved. But through it all she remained the same person, quiet, precise, economical in movement and speech, letting actions speak louder than words. The rifle stayed clean, the go bag stayed packed, the phone stayed charged. And when the world needed saving, one precision shot at a time, one impossible mission at a time, one life at a time, she would be there. Guardian angel. Always watching, always ready, always serving. Sometimes dignity doesn't speak, it simply acts.